Picture this: a beautiful Victorian bridge in the Scottish countryside. Stone archways, lush forests, peaceful streams flowing below. The kind of place you'd take your family for a quiet afternoon walk with your dog. But there's something wrong with this bridge. Something that's been happening here for over 70 years. Something that no one can fully explain. Dogs, hundreds of them, have leapt from this exact same spot, falling 50 feet onto jagged rocks below. At least 50 have died. And the ones that survive? Some of them climb back up and jump again. Welcome to Overtoun Bridge. The locals call it the Dog Suicide Bridge. Overtoun Bridge sits near the village of Milton, just outside Dumbarton, in West Dunbartonshire, Scotland. It was completed in June 1895, designed by the landscape architect H.E. Milner. The bridge is constructed from rough-faced ashlar stone, with parapets 18 inches thick, and features 3 elegant arches spanning a steep-sided ravine. It's part of the approach road to Overtoun House, a stunning Scottish baronial mansion built in 1862 by industrialist James White. The estate overlooks the River Clyde, and on a clear day, it's absolutely breathtaking. For nearly a century after its construction, Overtoun Bridge was just a bridge. Nothing unusual, nothing sinister. People crossed it daily without incident, but then the 1950s arrived, and dogs started jumping. Here's where this gets truly bizarre, because these aren't random incidents scattered across the bridge. There's a pattern, a disturbing, specific pattern that makes this whole thing even more unsettling. Research has found that at least 300 dogs have jumped from the bridge. At least 50 died from the fall. But it's the details that will send chills down your spine. First, the dogs almost always jump from the same spot. Between the last 2 parapets on the right-hand side of the bridge, always the right side, always near the end. Second, it almost always happens on clear, dry days, sunny weather, the kind of day you'd want to go for a walk. Third, the dogs that jump are predominantly long-nosed breeds: Golden Retrievers, German Shepherds, Collies, Labradors, long-snouted dogs with particularly strong senses of smell. In 2005 alone, 5 dogs jumped in just 6 months. Kenneth Meikle was walking with his family and their Golden Retriever in 2004 when the dog suddenly bolted and leapt off the bridge. The dog survived but was completely traumatized. In 2014, Alice Trevorrow was walking her obedient Springer Spaniel named Cassie. She described a strange experience. "I had parked up, and as she is so obedient, I didn't put her lead on. Me and my son walked toward Cassie, who was staring at something above the bridge. She definitely saw something that made her jump. There was something sinister going on. It was so out of character for her." What makes these incidents even more disturbing is what owners describe in the moments before their dogs jump. They report a sudden dramatic change in behavior. One moment, their dog is walking normally, enjoying the fresh air. The next moment, something changes. The dog becomes completely still, as if sensing something invisible. Or they become intensely agitated, fixated on something beyond the wall. Some owners have described their pets as appearing possessed. Then, without warning, the dog bolts, leaps onto the parapet wall and disappears over the edge. The dogs that survive often suffer broken legs, shattered bones, and severe trauma. Owners report their pets seem psychologically damaged afterward, as if they've seen something they can't forget. But here's the most chilling detail. Some dogs that survive the fall climb back up to the bridge and immediately try to jump again. Think about that for a moment. What could possibly compel an animal to repeat such a traumatic experience? Dogs aren't the only ones to have fallen victim to Overtoun Bridge. In October 1994, a 32-year-old man named Kevin Moy visited the bridge with his wife and their 2-week-old son, Ewan. Moy was suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, and he believed his infant son was the Antichrist, the devil incarnate. On that clear day, between the last 2 parapets of the bridge, the exact same spot where dogs jump, Moy threw his baby son over the edge. The child died in the hospital the following day. Moy then tried to throw himself off the bridge, but his terrified wife pulled him back. He later attempted suicide by slashing his wrists, but survived. At trial, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity and committed to Carstairs Psychiatric Hospital. When asked why he chose that location, Moy said he was drawn to the bridge because of its association with dark spirits and ancient druids. This tragedy cast an even darker shadow over Overtoun Bridge and fueled theories that something supernatural was at work. So what's causing this? Let's start with the most dramatic explanations, the ones that suggest forces beyond our understanding. The thin place theory. According to Celtic mythology, certain locations in Scotland are considered thin places, spots where the veil between the physical world and the spiritual realm is particularly weak, where heaven and earth are closest together. Many locals believe Overtoun Bridge sits on one of these thin places. The theory suggests that dogs, with their heightened senses, can detect these supernatural energies in ways humans cannot. Something in this location calls to them, luring them over the edge. Another popular theory involves the ghost of a woman known as the White Lady of Overtoun. Legend says she's the grieving widow of John Campbell White, the first Lord Overtoun, whose father built the estate. Witnesses claim to have seen a spectral figure in white wandering the grounds, particularly near the bridge. Some believe this ghost is somehow influencing the dogs, drawing them to their deaths. Though why a grieving widow would want to harm innocent animals remains unclear. The residual energy theory. After the 1994 tragedy involving Kevin Moy and his infant son, some paranormal investigators suggested that the violent death left a psychic imprint on the bridge, a dark energy. They point out that dogs tend to jump from the exact same spot where the baby was thrown, as if that location is cursed, tainted by tragedy. People who visit the bridge often report strange feelings. Jenna, a 20-year-old from Glasgow, described walking across the bridge and feeling as if the air got thinner. Her stomach jumped, like missing a step on a staircase. She felt an overwhelming sense that something bad was going to happen. Paul Owens, author of a book on the mystery, claims he felt a strong jab in his back while photographing the bridge, like phantom fingers pushing him toward the edge. He described Overtoun as a place that can shift from peaceful tranquility to overwhelming terror in seconds, as if the location itself has a dark personality. Not everyone buys into supernatural explanations. In 2005, the Scottish Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals decided to investigate. They brought in Dr. David Sands, a canine psychologist, to examine the bridge from a scientific perspective. Dr. Sands walked the bridge with dogs on leashes, carefully observing their behavior. He wanted to understand what might be triggering these jumps. He considered 3 possible factors: sight, sound, and scent. Sight. Could the dogs be seeing something that triggers them to jump? Dr. Sands quickly ruled this out. From a dog's eye level, the thick granite walls completely block the view beyond the bridge. A dog looking at the parapet would see nothing but stone and ivy. They couldn't see the drop, the rocks below, or whatever might be moving in the ravine. Sound. Could some kind of frequency or sound be driving the dogs mad? One theory suggested that nearby Faslane Bay, home to the UK's Trident nuclear submarines, might be emitting frequencies that only animals could hear. Dr. Sands brought in acoustic experts to test this hypothesis. They found nothing unusual in their tests. No mysterious frequencies, no hidden sounds. This theory was debunked. Scent. This is where Dr. Sands focused his investigation. Dogs have an extraordinary sense of smell, 10,000 to 100,000 times more sensitive than humans. And when sight and sound are blocked, as they are by the bridge's high walls, scent becomes the dominant sense. Dr. Sands discovered something fascinating. An animal habitat expert found that mink live abundantly in the undergrowth beneath Overtoun Bridge. Mink are small, semi-aquatic mammals that were introduced to Scotland in the 1950s, right around the time the dog jumps began. They nest along riverbanks and use powerful scent glands to mark their territory. The smell from male mink urine is particularly pungent, musky, intense, and apparently irresistible to many dogs. To test this theory, Dr. Sands conducted a controlled experiment. He gathered 10 long-nosed dogs, the breeds most likely to jump from the bridge. Then he presented them with canisters containing different scents: mouse, squirrel, and mink. The results were striking. 7 out of 10 dogs went straight for the mink scent, many of them quite dramatically showing intense interest and excitement. Dr. Sands also walked a golden retriever named Hendrix across the bridge. Hendrix had survived a previous jump and was now on a tight leash. The dog walked calmly until reaching the exact spot at the end of the bridge where the incidents occur. Suddenly, Hendrix tensed up. Something had clearly caught her attention. Dr. Sands concluded that the mystery likely came down to a combination of factors. The potent scent of mink wafting up from the ravine below, combined with the bridge's design, which blocks the dog's vision and sound, creates a perfect storm. Dogs catch this irresistible smell, leap onto the parapet to investigate the source, completely unaware of the 50-foot drop on the other side. As Dr. Sands put it, "I think it's highly likely in all the cases here at Overtoun Bridge that it was curiosity that killed the dog." The timing also fits. Mink were introduced in the 1950s. The jumps began in the 1950s. The scent would be strongest on clear, dry days, which is when most jumps occur. The mink theory is compelling. It's scientific. It fits the evidence. Bob Hill, who has lived at Overtoun House for 17 years and witnessed several incidents, agrees with this explanation. He told reporters, "The dogs catch the scent of mink, pine martens, or some other mammal, and then they will jump up on the wall of the bridge, and because it's tapered, they will just topple over." But not everyone is convinced. John Joyce, a local hunter who has lived in the area for 50 years, insists there is no mink in the area. He says he can state that with absolute certainty. And even if the mink theory is correct, questions remain. Why do the dogs always jump from that one specific spot on the right side of the bridge? If it's just about scent, why not other spots along the bridge? Why not other bridges in Scotland with mink living beneath them? Why do some dogs that survive immediately try to jump again? If they've just experienced severe trauma from the fall, wouldn't they avoid that location? And what about the optical illusion theory? Some behaviorists suggest that dogs, being colorblind and viewing the world from a lower perspective, might see the lush vegetation below and mistake it for solid ground. The trees and foliage could hide the actual depth of the ravine, creating a visual deception. Perhaps it's all these factors combined: scent, design, optical illusion, a perfect storm of confusion for a curious dog. Today, Overtoun Bridge remains open to the public, though warning signs now urge dog owners to keep their pets on leashes. The bridge has been featured in documentaries, news articles, and even inspired a 2023 short film called The Bridge. Tourists still visit, drawn by the mystery. Some come seeking the paranormal. Others come seeking scientific answers. The Scottish Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals continues to monitor the situation. though their official findings remain inconclusive. What we know for certain is this. Over 300 dogs have jumped from Overtoun Bridge. At least 50 have died. The incidents continue to happen, even with increased awareness and precautions, whether the explanation lies in biology, psychology, or something we don't yet understand. Overtoun Bridge remains one of Scotland's most disturbing mysteries. Is it mink scent luring dogs to their accidental deaths? Is it a thin place where the spiritual and physical worlds collide? Is it cursed by the tragic death of an infant thrown from its walls? Or is it simply a combination of architectural design and animal instinct? Perhaps the truth is that some mysteries resist simple explanations. Some places hold secrets we may never fully understand. One thing is certain. If you ever find yourself crossing Overtoun Bridge with your four-legged friend, hold that leash tight. Because something about this bridge, whether natural or supernatural, calls to dogs in a way we cannot fully comprehend. And once they hear that call, many of them cannot resist.